blonde beauty and a savage beast, alone in the jungle. The owner of a plantation in the jungle marries a beautiful woman. Shortly afterward, he is plagued by a strange voodoo curse, which transforms him into a gorilla. But is his transformation real, or is it all in his head? Hello and welcome to Sasquatch Cinema, another podcast where we talk about Sasquatch movies. I'm Isaac.
And I'm Steven.
And today we are talking about the 1951 film Ride of the Gorilla.
We're very excited about this one.
Yeah, but before we get into it, how are you, Steven?
I'm doing fine, buddy. My week has been a lot of work. First full week at a new job, that kind of thing. I mentioned that on last week's episode. That I'd gotten a different job. But I have to admit, the only thing that's truly squatchy that I did this week, outside of research for this podcast, really was seeing a bumper sticker that said "Bigfoot is my lover,"
Nice.
which I was very upset about. I don't think they know what they're getting themselves into there.
No bestiality, please.
Yes.
We do not condone bestiality.
And then on my way over here, I don't know if you know this, there is a small farm that is next to a winery that has a bunch of statues. And one of the statues is a gigantic gorilla with an alien on his lap, which I just felt like that was a really exciting thing for our show to know about.
Yeah. If that person happens to be listening, we would love to take a photo of said statue.
We would also like to maybe ask you why you have statues of, that on top of several dinosaurs on your property.
Oh, yeah. Dinosaurs.
Yeah, there are several dinosaur statues as well. And just to me, it just seems like this guy has to be the funnest dude ever.
Is this near Talon's Winery?
It's not Talon Winery. It's I don't know if they're still open now or not, but Jean Ferris or Gene Ferris Winery.
Oh.
So it's on Old Richmond Road heading towards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's on, if you're heading towards Lexington from Richmond, it's on your right. I've actually been to that winery once before, great winery, but I didn't get to ask the question of why is the farmer next to you so weird?
Yeah, that's very interesting.
So how was your week, my friend?
I didn't do anything squatchy. It's been a busy week with my job. I've been busy, and it's crunch time. I'm trying to do some stuff. I might, if all successful, I might promote. The company I work for might be our first sponsor.
Yeah.
Quotation marks, because I work for them, so sponsor. But we might shout them out once things get launched and whatnot.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know us, Isaac is a content editor for a small internet company. I just wanted to really give our audience that very vague description of what your job is, because it could be anything.
Yeah, I can't talk super in depth about it yet. So anyways, glad you're doing well, but let's go ahead and just jump right into it. You got a bunch of fun facts for us today about this film, don't you?
Oh, I have so many fun facts. Sort of a peek behind the scenes. This week, the idea of recording for this week has been getting me through my work. I've been really excited to talk about this particular movie as well as another one that we will be recording for later. Bride of the Gorilla has been a movie that I've been interested in. I wanted to like this movie a lot. Okay, I've always wanted to like this movie. Part of the reason is that the writer and director of this feature is Curt Siodmak. And Curt Siodmak probably is most well known for being the writer of The Wolfman. He's also the author of a novel called Donovan's Brain that was very influential on the horror genre and has been adapted several times into feature films. He also wrote for another one that Isaac and I have seen together. He wrote that movie Black Friday the one where Bela Lugosi plays the gangster, and then there's another guy that Boris Karloff transplants a gangster's brain into this guy's head.
Oh, that one. What's that one called?
It's Black Friday.
Black Friday. Is that Black Friday? I thought that was a different one.
Now, so that was Black Friday, and then there's another one that we haven't watched yet together, but I've described to you that has a sort of similar plot, and actually one of the main actor is also in there as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Black Friday is the one where Bella is
a gangster,
a gangster and gets like murdered in a closet or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, so that was written by Curt Siodmak. So he's sort of well known for being a universal like contract writer. He wrote just a ton of things, and directed not a whole lot. His brother Robert Siodmak is actually a well-known low-budget film noir director. And so I figure probably Curt was just like, I gotta be like my brother. I really want to direct, but all I can do is write. So he eventually got to do this, and this was basically a readaptation of his original screenplay for The Wolfman. And that original screenplay is just like, it's slightly different from the Wolfman movie that we see. I think you can kind of see probably a few bits and pieces of what would have been different just through watching this movie. But I mean, very influential writer. I mean, pretty much the entirety of modern werewolf mythology comes from him almost exclusively.
Yeah.
Because all of those rules, the silver bullet, the full moon, the pentagram showing up on the hand, that different stuff like that, all of that is him. Like, that is like almost none of that is actual mythology. It's all him putting little bits and pieces of different mythologies together. Gotcha. And creating his own stuff to make that. So he's a very inventive writer, and we actually, sort of to jump ahead just a little bit, I mean, I think we sort of agreed that, at least in terms of the screenplay, like, this is a pretty well-written movie.
It's a well-written screenplay for sure. I am interested to see more of this guy's work, both as a director and a writer. I haven't seen too many of his films.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see more of that. But this also stars an interesting two legendary actors. A longtime, probably friend of the director, Lon Chaney Jr., is in the film. Which, was he friends with the director in real life, or did they just know each other?
I don't know. I think it probably was sort of a working relationship, but they did, like, I mean, obviously, Lon Chaney was the Wolfman.
Yeah.
On top of that, I think Curt Siodmak wrote at least one of the other like Wolfman sequels, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. He also wrote Lon Chaney's other starring vehicle in the Universal Monsters, Son of Dracula.
Yeah.
So he wrote Son of Dracula, and Chaney was also in that. He was in several things that Siodmak either wrote or directed. So, I mean, there certainly should have been like a working relationship there. I mean, just all you have to do is use your eyes and ears to see that, like, Lon Chaney Jr. is like a fantastic actor. So, I mean, if for nothing else, a really close working relationship. We also have, you mentioned the other legend is Raymond Burr,
yes,
who was Perry Mason. He was Ironsides. He was also in Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window, probably his greatest performance. And then on top of that, he's also in the American version of Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I know we have a lot to say about, like, that has been like dogpiled on top of so often, and I agree with every criticism about it. But it was still the first time that I saw a black and white Godzilla movie, so I still have a lot of love for that movie,
Yeah.
despite its low quality and his low quality in it, actually. But we also have just some more interesting stuff here. On top of Lon Chaney Jr. and Raymond Burr, we have Barbara Payton, who was sort of this scandalous actress, sort of more well known for her many affairs, marriages, and drug and alcohol problem more than almost anything else that she did in cinema.
Yeah.
But she did get around in terms of being a sort of interesting actress. She starred or co-starred in a few different like film noir features. The thing that I found most interesting for us, as far as her filmography, was actually she is in the first science fiction Hammer film, which is a four-sided triangle. I haven't seen it, but it sounds interesting.
Hmm.
And I mean, she's in it, so that's certainly notable. We'll be talking about Hammer a little bit later in this season,
Yes.
actually. And But yeah, she's an interesting character, sort of in herself. Very scandalous. She slept around a lot. Was addicted to drugs and alcohol. And actually, during the making of this film, and this film actually only shot for 10 days, but during the making of this film, her then husband found out that she was having an affair with somebody. So they sent a private detective to follow her around
Hmm.
and found her actually in bed with a co-star of hers in this film, Woody Strode, the African American cowboy actor, probably most well known as as being sort of a John Ford frequent player, and for being the one of the cowboys in the opening sequence of Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yes.
Yeah, so sort of an interesting series of events there. Very strange lady, to be perfectly honest with you. On top of that, I do, of course, want to highlight our gorilla suit actor in here. We don't get a whole lot of him,
Yeah.
but I don't know about you. I liked his gorilla suit.
It's a good simple gorilla suit. Again, we'll get more in a little bit into that. I have some opinions on that actually, but
Yeah.
we'll get into that. But yeah, it's a decent gorilla suit.
So the actor is Steve Calvert, who I think took his last name from a whiskey brand. Like actually did, like literally. He was in several movies, sort of as a gorilla suit performer. He had done stunts and sort of double work and stuff like that up until he became a gorilla suit actor. But his origin story is interesting. He bought the gorilla suits of the great gorilla suit performer Ray Crash Corrigan, and Corrigan actually taught him how to act as a gorilla. So this guy is sort of like second generation, I guess. So like the suits that he uses are Ray Corrigan suits. He's in several different features. He's probably most well known for being in Bob Hope and Bing Crosby feature Road to Rio, well known movie that does feature a gorilla suit performer. Really, really funny movie, actually. I like it at least. And he's also in The Bowery Boys Meet the Monsters, which to me sounds like it's probably not good, but it's gotta be at least worth checking out. I mean, it's the Bowery Boys.
Yeah.
They're meeting monsters. There's a guy in a gorilla suit. Very likely it's directed by William Bodine.
William Bodine.
Yeah, One Shot Bill, who we will be returning to later. That's a little spoiler for the future. But
Yay.
yeah, so we are I guess just gonna have to get into it at this point. That's all the history that I have written down here. If I can think of anything else along the way, I'll bring it up. But
Yeah.
right now, I think we just got to get into that synopsis.
Yeah, synopsis. So as always, if you would like to watch this film, it's streaming and it's a public domain film, so it should be pretty easy to find. Fair warning, there are not very many good copies, scans of this out there. We watched it on a 2005 DVD made by Alpha. What was the
Alpha
name?
Video.
Alpha Video. Oh, and it was rough. It's a rough copy. They basically just took a VHS and shoved it onto a DVD. That's the best way to describe how it looks.
From what I've heard, this I was doing a quick little bit of research on this right before we recorded. Apparently, this is a television copy.
Oh, television copy.
So
Even
they just
worse.
so it's like they just ripped it from a tape, maybe a beta tape or a VHS tape
It's just a VHS tape, yeah, for sure.
that they just took from TV, and they were like, okay, this is good enough. It's public domain. I mean, we have $5 to make 1,000,000 DVDs.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, to be fair, you got to respect the grind of Alpha Video.
Yeah.
They did this forever, and everything. And the box set that it's in is cool, but not a great copy.
Can't recommend it.
Can't recommend it. I'd recommend the box set as a thing to put on your shelf, though. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I would think you could recommend that. All right, so let's get into the spoilers ahead, of course, with the synopsis. Again, if you would like to watch the film, please go watch it before we talk about it. Or if you just want to listen to us yap about the film and have no plans on watching it, that's fine too. We'll get into maybe if you should watch the film at the end, if you do want to watch it. All right, so our story begins with they're in the jungle and on a plantation, rubber plantation, is one thing we mentioned or before the podcast about what plantation were they on? Maybe a rubber plantation. In some country, Hispanic country, probably somewhere like a Latino country, somewhere in Central or South America, I believe. So Raymond Burr's character busts through the door and he starts talking to this woman, and he's really mean to her when we introduce them. He's just really mean.
Yeah, just incredibly mean to her. And this is his version of flirting.
And apparently she's turned on by him being so mean.
Oh yeah, she's so into it.
Yeah, and then we meet her husband, this older gentleman who owns the plantation, and then there's also this doctor character who is just, I guess, the local doctor for the territory or area. He works for the government. And which government? I don't know. He just works for the government, apparently. So we meet them, and we also meet this old house woman who I guess, I don't really know. I guess she's a maid of some sort, or a former maid, or a medicine woman, or something.
Yeah, she seems to sort of just like run the servants. So like
there's a name for that role, because like the woman who's head over all of the female servants or the servants,
like governess, maybe.
Governess, maybe. Yeah. There's an official title that these women kind of have.
Yeah, so she's this sort of ominous hooded presence.
She's almost like a witch doctor, if we can use that term in a way. We're getting into exactly why in a moment, but like she's like a witch doctor almost, and she also brings the Bible to the leader of the household, for him to read right before dinner.
Yeah, something that I didn't know that people did, but I think should be done, because that's kind of cool. Yeah. Especially if you like go to the Psalms and read something super hardcore about how the heart is deceitful and wicked above all else.
Well, he read that specific passage to kind of burn and try to own like Raymond Burr's character for being such a jerk and such a not a very good person and lusting after his wife.
Yeah,
basically that's what he tried to use it for. And then I get like Raymond Burr uses it back at him right before he kills him by punching him and slowly approaching the snake.
Yeah, a slowly approaching snake attacks this man who is now on the ground because he's been punched in the belly by Raymond Burr.
I thought he got punched in the face.
Was it the face? I feel like the guy punched Raymond Burr in the face, and then Burr was like, "You know what?
Punched him in the gut.
Tummy punch." You know,
Yeah.
and he falls over. He gets bitten by a snake.
We don't know what kind of snake. One, we couldn't see. The scan may have just prevented us from seeing what kind of snake. But it's just a snake.
It's probably a super dwarf retic or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, the old housewoman, the old governess, she witnesses the entire scene, and immediately begins to do some weird ritual on the man by putting leaves of a specific plant over his eyes.
Yeah, Pacific poisonous plant. I don't remember what they called it. They had a name for it.
Yeah, it was something. It was something in Spanish.
We get introduced to Lon Chaney Jr.'s character, who is the police commissioner of this area, and yeah, he's supposed to be Spanish. FYI, Lon Chaney Jr. is not Spanish.
No. Lon Chaney Jr. is I don't know where Lon Chaney Jr. was actually born, but obviously his father was the famous silent film actor Lon Chaney, probably born someplace in the Midwest. Actually, really quick, interesting story about that. Lon Chaney Jr. Was born, in his words, black and dead. His father ran to a half-frozen river and dunked his son in the river several times, and then wrapped him up in blankets and put him in an oven with inside of a dish for several hours, and that is how he was alive afterwards.
That's wild if true.
That is, I mean, his grandson Ron Chaney seems to believe it. So if that is true,
wild,
absolutely insane. But somewhere in the Midwest. Yeah, anyway, he's definitely not a Spaniard.
No.
He's definitely not Hispanic.
No.
And so what occurs in this scene is basically an interrogation of several people, mostly including Barney and the old house governess.
The picture is kind of like it's basically like the detective in an old movie, and he's got all his suspects in the mansion in a room, and he's sort of breaking down all of the pieces of evidence. And basically, Lon Chaney Jr. basically puts it out there that he thinks Raymond Burr's character. I heard it's Barney. His character is Barney, but I kept hearing Bonnie every time I said. I hear Bonnie. I don't know why I hear Bonnie. I just hear Bonnie. So assuming that Barney was had killed this guy, but he couldn't prove it, and so he asks the old woman who witnessed the murder, and she lies for Raymond Burr's character. This is because Raymond Burr had this flirtatious relationship with one of the housemaids, a Spanish housemaid, breaks up with her right before the murder, and the old woman decides to curse the man because of this.
Sort of, we go forward knowing that he is cursed. We actually see her in her bedroom squeezing, I'm guessing leaves or some kind of fruit of this plant into a glass that will later be served as a part of a cocktail for Raymond Burr's character.
Yeah.
And she's saying, let him become an animal in his eyes. Let him become an animal in his eyes.
Because the movie toys with this idea that he goes into the jungle, and is he turning into an ape man, or is he just a man? As not really anybody sees him physically turn into a man. So after he's murdered the husband and owner of the plantation, he takes control of the plantation, Raymond Burr's character, and marries
Barbara Payton's character.
Barbara Payton's character, and they get married. And while he's signing the marriage certificate, he sees his hand turn black and become like an ape's hand, which is
Yeah.
done really in camera really well.
Yeah.
I quite like I like when old movies do that, like do the transformations of something in camera because it's so much more fun that way.
Oh, definitely. He runs off, makes an excuse not to finish signing the papers. I guess they've already been married. It's just they were kind of drawing up legal papers and such like that.
Yeah.
And, sort of the rest of this gets sorted out off screen. But in terms of what he ends up doing, he runs out into the jungle,
Mhm.
and we
Though with the one good scene of Raymond Burr acting performance, he
yes.
does this little monologue about the jungle sounds, and then runs into the jungle. Well, and he just tells her, "I must go into the jungle," and she's like, "But don't! I'm going into the jungle, but don't!" And then he does, and she just yells after him and doesn't chase after him or try to stop him physically or anything. No, he just runs into the jungle.
Yep.
And then we cut to the doctor visiting the commissioner. And the best scene in the whole movie
Hmm.
is Lon Chaney Jr. giving this excellent monologue about superstition and logic and the difference between the two. His character had grown up and gone to college, all from that in this area. He grew up in the village, but then he went to college, and he's struggling with this logic of that college taught him of all the legal books and also the superstitions that he grew up with, and they're sort of clashing. It's this great performance, this great, well written monologue about that. It's just a fantastic scene,
Hmm.
and the camera's not really moving, but Lon Chaney Jr. is kind of walking back and forth before the doctor, sort of pacing while he's talking, and it's just well blocked, well acted, and well shot.
Yeah, and to give the doctor his credit as well. I mean, he's doing some pretty good reaction. Uh,
He's
uh,
probably the second best actor
yeah,
in it, which is sad because I like Raymond Burr as Perry Mason, but he's just not good in this.
yeah. I mean, I think this is a pretty early role for Burr, and you know, I mean, what are you gonna do? You're a young actor. You're cast as
Yeah,
a big male lead. You're given sort of that bland romantic type with sort of an edge. And I just don't think that's necessarily what Burr was made to play.
yeah. Well, to give Burr some credit, he was as does get better in later in the movie as he's forced to really sell this idea of a man going crazy,
Yeah.
which is what we start to see in the film as he continues to have these visits to the jungle. Well, often, and he always comes back dirtier and dirtier,
Hmm.
and for some reason, all the monkeys and even the jaguar that's roaming this jungle are all afraid, supposedly afraid of Raymond Burr's character when he's roaming through the jungle, and he has this experience that he's like his face is not his face, his eyes aren't his eyes, kind of thing.
Hmm.
There's this great shot where he sees himself as an ape in a mirror and he smashes the mirror,
Yeah.
which is great. I wish they had hung on that more and whatnot, but they cut so quickly when he smashes it, we don't really get to see the ape costume all that much.
Hmm.
Um, the ape costume's only we don't really see any close-ups of it. We see it more. He's like running around and we never see it in full, which is a little disappointing.
Yeah, we get maybe like one full body shot very close near the end where he's
Yeah.
carrying Barbara Payton,
Hmm.
but that's like a 2 or 3 second shot,
Yeah,
honestly.
it is. It's
And
very short.
the rest of the appearances are in mirrors or in water. Actually, to throw a little extra history in here, apparently the original title was going to be "The Face in the Water,"
That's a
which
really good title,
it's a
actually.
really good title. I mean, "Bride of the Gorilla" is also an awesome
And
title.
that's a fun title too, but it's just like it ties in more with the theme of the film, "Face in the Water," right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it ties more in the theme of the film.
yeah, but yeah. So at this point, it's pretty much a series of events that draw Raymond Burr further and further into sort of this cycle of running through the jungle, coming back dirtier, and
Dirtier
uh,
and dirtier and dirtier and crazier and crazier.
yes, until it sort of mounts up to the end where uh, he has finally decided that despite all of this sort of back and forth, trying to either leave or stay, he has decided that he wants to stay in the jungle rather than leave with his wife, and so he has decided to leave his wife 100%. We also get a few scenes um, leading up to Lon Chaney Jr.'s conviction that, okay, we're going to go and investigate this further. And so they show up at the house right at the same time as Burr's character starts to run through
The
the
jungle,
jungle.
and his wife chasing after him, trying to stop him, and she eventually like he kidnaps her and brings her into the jungle, and is then shot by Lon Chaney Jr.'s character, we believe. I think him and the doctor both have guns. They both start firing into the brush.
They fire blindly into brush, a thing that you should never do, by the
No,
way.
no, no.
But they fire blindly into the brush and fatally wound him. He looks in the water and for the last time sees himself as the gorilla, and then letting that gorilla image fade back into himself, and then
And
he
he falls
splashes down into the
in the
water.
water. Yeah, and well, one other detail that we should mention is throughout the film, Lon Chaney Jr.'s character and the Doctor are chasing this rumor of this mythical demon beast in the jungle, and it
Hmm.
kills cattle. And it starts killing cattle.
Yeah.
And I think it kill a person? Didn't I think?
They
Or was it because I was confused? There's some confusing dialogue around that.
Yeah, they don't really say 100% what the beast is doing, but that it often kills livestock, and that murders have been blamed on it. I don't think that the character that it's implied that Barney is,
Hmm.
that he's probably not committing murders, but he is killing livestock. He is getting through traps that the natives have set up, and he's making the natives very nervous. So
Yeah.
the only really there's only a body count of two by the end of the movie. There's there's
The murdered previous plantation owner, and Raymond Burr's character by the end are the only two dead people that are confirmed.
yeah,
There are rumors of like murders being aimed on this creature, but they are neither confirmed or proven that that's the case. So it's never really truly hinted at that Raymond Burr as I think more of killing cattle was
yeah,
that, which still is enough to make the locals freaked out, and so there's like a scene where they try to quit, and Barney tries to pay them, and that's when he first notices the blood on his hands,
yeah.
which is wild.
So, I guess getting into critical opinions, as I mentioned, this has always been a movie that I wanted to like, and sort of as a description of that, it's that I really like the Wolfman. I've always really loved the Wolfman. It's been tied or sometimes at the top of my favorites of those like Universal monster movies. Right now, I'd say it's like second or third, or tied for second, tied for first, that kind of thing. So I've always been a huge fan of the Wolfman, and so I always figured, well, Curt Siodmak character, surely he's a talented guy, and I wanted to like other stuff that he made. And as a kid, the only accessible stuff was anything that would have been in the public domain outside of the Universal Classic monsters. So I've always really wanted to like this. I watched this movie maybe a decade ago and didn't really get too excited about it. Didn't watch it with my full attention. But coming back to it now, I think I have to say I like it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good movie. As you mentioned earlier, it's a good script. It's great script, to be honest. It has a lot of good dialogue. I talked a lot about the the monologue that Long Cheney Jr. gave about his wrestle between like logic and superstition. So that's like a really cool example of just really well written dialogue. The flaw here in this movie is a lot of the performances. Raymond Burr is not good for the first like 3/4 of the movie
Yeah,
because he comes out this character just so mean, that you're just like, how did he get any of these women to love him? Because it's like he's so mean, and I
yeah,
get that like there's a certain like in real life there's like guys are mean to a girl and she falls in love with him and whatnot, but I feel like that's more a Hollywood trope rather than actual realism
yeah.
because it's like if a guy's just going to be mean to you all the time, you're not going to fall in love with him. You're just gonna think he's a douchebag and be like, okay, he's not worth it.
Yeah, and there's a certain kind of charisma that can make that work on screen. I've seen, for instance, somebody like Vincent Price be able to do this, where he treats a person absolutely deplorably, but
Mhm.
somehow his his seductive charm is able to get through that. The problem here is that Burr has none of that seductive charm. He's kind of a block of wood the first 3/4 of the movie. As he gets crazier and crazier, though, as he sort of descends into becoming this jungle beast, as he becomes the ape man more and more, and even in his human phases, he's able to uh, he's sort of being taken over by that ape man spirit. As he continues on doing that, he sort of embodies that a little more. He's using the wrinkles in his face a little more, the expressions a little bit more palpably. He's he's acting just a little stronger, a little more muscular. They add a lot more sort of grit and grime to him in the makeup. Uh, Sort of the makeup department does this. The costume department is adding a little more grit and grime too. And I don't know, for some reason I kept focusing on those weird little. He has this like t-shirt that he has, or this short sleeved work shirt that he has rolled the sleeves up even further on, and they have these little
Yeah.
creases. And I obsessed over seeing these little creases get more and more sort of like warped and grimy as time went on. And so
Hmm.
every time that he comes out of the jungle, this work shirt is continually becoming more like, ugh, you know. I start to enjoy his performance sort of in the latter half, and I think I also have to give some of that to Curt Siodmak himself, because some of the later scenes where we have this character, um, not as Raymond Burr but as the gorilla, we get these POV shots. Do you remember this sequence where there was a POV shot of uh, the character coming in slowly into his wife's bedroom,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then he sort of reaches his gorilla hands out towards her, and then moves away as she starts to move, and
And
then
then
the camera
leaves.
backs out very
Yeah.
slowly. These POV shots that, like, I don't know, it feels very like Hitchcockian.
Hitchcockian, and I think just influential on horror in general because
Yeah.
from this point, this is the 1950s. From this point, POV shots like that in horror would become much more common. Of the we see the monster or the villain's POV on the victims, right? And that is a we start to see some of that start popping up in the 70s. that technique.
That's super popular in the
Yeah.
70s as the slasher genre sort of like ramps up and up
Takes
and
off.
up.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a few shots like that in Halloween, I believe.
and Black Christmas.
Black
These things are
Christmas.
really
Yeah.
big. But yeah, you got this great POV camera work that sort of adds that sort of audience identification with that character as well. You feel you feel creepy about it,
Yeah.
frankly. I don't know. Also, sidebar, but this is important to sort of the thrust of our discussion here. I think at least 3 movies that we have discussed so far have had scenes where a gorilla creeps into a young, attractive woman's bedroom while she's sleeping.
Yeah. Murders in the Rue Morgue is
This
one.
one,
This
and
one, and there was another one.
was it the ape man or was it the gorilla? I feel like it was the ape man.
Yeah.
Several scenes that, like, I don't know, there's this sort of maybe it like speaks some kind of like cultural anxiety at the time of like the bestial invading
Oh yeah.
invading the civilized, because like when are you more, when are you like more vulnerable, when you are female, asleep in your bedroom, and yet you feel safe.
Yeah, and someone's coming through your window to get you, kill you, do horrible things to you. Yeah, that's definitely, I think, a primordial feel from that time, because this is a family story. There's a story about my family about a guy sneaking up into one of my, like, I think grandmother's or like great aunt's bedrooms,
Oh
and
gosh.
basically, now I didn't call it rape then, is what my great aunt used to say, but basically the idea was that he either raped her or was a boyfriend or something like that. But yeah, there's
Oh
like it's an old
gosh.
family story about that.
That's
So it
wild.
did happen in like the 20s and the 30s. That stuff kind of stuff happened, and it's horrible.
Yeah. And how much creepier is it also, like, if it's something that you can hardly even imagine?
Yeah,
Like, how who could imagine a gorilla climbing through your window or walking into your bedroom at night? Like, that's the freakiest thing that I can think of at the
yeah,
moment.
it's pretty freaky.
But yeah, that's insane. Also wild that you shared that. Uh,
Yeah, well, it's an old family story that my mother told me, and uh, it it's due to that we don't know what exactly some of the like ancestry is, because
mm,
that guy never was not part of the family. So one theory that my mother had was that it was rape. Another theory that was also present, which some of my mother also had, was like he was just some boyfriend of hers who snuck up, had sex with her, got her pregnant,
oh,
and due to being out of wedlock and the family not liking him, just kicked him out, and then framed the story as like a rape or something like that.
oh,
There's two
there's multiple
frameworks,
sides to
multiple
it.
sides to it, as all things have that. So, but one of the stories was uh, that the main story that was told by the family is that he came up through the window and like raped her.
Wow,
So, uh,
wild cultural anxieties
yeah,
at the
wild
time.
cultural anxieties, wild stories of just how people depicted certain things, and it was more of a way to justify this family member being pregnant, because she got pregnant and had a child afterwards.
Hmm.
I can't remember who the child was in the family. I think it was important, but I don't remember.
Wow.
I don't know. But yeah, so getting back onto the more of the movie and less social anxieties and
Yeah,
less darker and disturbing topics. This movie is a horror movie, but it's not.
it's not
It's
horrifying.
not. Murders in the Rue Morgue so far has been the scariest movie we've watched, solely because of the torture scene, and that is
Yeah,
pretty terrifying. But This one is still it's a more a psychological horror, I think, in a way, because
Yeah,
our main character, Raymond Burr's character, is suffering from psychological torment of is he turning into an ape, or is he just thinking he is and he's like obsessing over the jungle. And I think the movie also implies via the plant being out without all of its leaves, and in the end the woman is continuously poisoning him
yeah,
and making him further go further and further into madness.
yeah,
And that is just a great idea. And all starts because he treated the poor maid, Hispanic maid, young maid that was in love with him poorly,
yeah,
and then murdered the plantation owner to steal his wife. If to which she definitely knows that Raymond character killed her husband,
oh yeah,
but she chooses to either be ignorant about it, not think about it, because she loves him for some reason.
yeah. The movie sort of plays with the ultra negative consequences of lust and the consequences of or sort of the effects of guilt on the conscience,
Yeah,
while also throwing in, okay, well, there's this possible poisoning aspect. Okay, well, outside of that, there's this supernatural aspect.
mm-hmm.
So like it's multiple layers deep as far as what could be happening here. Um, because there is what's great is that throughout most of the movie it seems to be saying, okay, very likely all of this is just in his head. He's not turning into an actual ape.
Yeah,
But right near the end, his wife sees him in the jungle and she
mm-hmm.
screams.
Yeah,
Why would she scream? And we don't see him as an ape in this same shot.
no,
But why should she scream if he's not an ape?
right,
And you can come up with other explanations. You could say, okay, well, maybe she was just very surprised. Maybe he looked incredibly haggard or something like that. Or maybe he had a really wild look in his eye. But enough of that is there to make the explanation either supernatural, medical, or psychological. And those several layers deep really make kind of an interesting story framework for it. Um, and I don't know. I thought this was, like we mentioned before, just very well written. A lot of the dialogue is just fantastic.
yeah.
There's several quotable things throughout here, and I think I'd have to agree. Like, yeah, the performances are a problem. Barbara Payton is fine. She's no better or worse than any sort of like damsel in distress character.
The best way to describe her acting performance is meh,
Yeah, she's
meh.
fine. She's fine. Very, very attractive. Very fashionable, I would say. Stuff like that. That's like in terms of sort of her surface level character, like the costuming, the hairstyles and stuff. That's
Yeah,
all like right down the line. That's fine. That's good old fashioned, Hollywood craftsmanship. Her performance also sort of right down the line Hollywood craftsmanship. Meh, fine.
yeah. She did
Um,
exactly what she needed to do as her character.
I do think that with a better actress, we could have delved a little bit deeper into.
Because it's been hinted that she's been married to an older man before. Why does she choose to marry these older men? And then she gives one of them up for a younger man, and who she seemingly loves. Loves. They could have dived more into that and the complexity of that,
Yeah,
which it also could have been a part of it, product of its time. Just doesn't really like discover or dive even into that very much.
yeah,
So It'd be interesting if this movie ever got remade. Like, you take the original script and and the original title, and you could remake it, and it would be a very interesting remake, I think.
Yeah, I think you definitely could. I would also say on top of that, like sort of a meta analysis as well. You know, Barbara Payton, as we mentioned before, very scandalous actress, and
Her role in this movie, I commented while we were watching it, is almost a mirror of her real life, which is
yes,
really weird.
and I think maybe one of the reasons that she doesn't play it as dramatic, that she's this character that, you know, sort of starts a an emotionally adulterous affair uh, before her husband is dead, and then just immediately throws away the memory of her husband, her former husband, like basically as soon as he's dead. You know, instead of showing that as dramatic and stuff, I think part of the reason that that's not shown that way is that she wouldn't have looked at it as dramatic. That was just her life.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't have played it any different. And
Yeah.
you know, that also just adds an interesting wrinkle to the movie. I think more than anything, title the title of the review for this one is just Bride of the Gorilla, interesting.
Interesting.
It's interesting. It's not like, this is not going to be top of the list. This is one that I feel like if we can get a good transfer of this, if we could get a good restoration, if we could get some sort of like get a historian like Tom Weaver or something to do a commentary, or a couple interviews about it and stuff like that, I think this could really become sort of a rediscovered classic.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like I haven't looked at what Letterboxd says, but IMDb is like 4.7 out of 10, which is a terrible score.
IMDb reviews are hit or miss. Sometimes they're weird. Like, I think Letterboxd is, most people give more justifications, especially for these like classic movies that people will like hunt them down and give like decent reviews typically. I don't like rating movies in like the 1 out of 10 scale, or like out of 10 scales, because it's one, like out of 5 stars I think is more reasonable, because it's like that that's more of a good range for a movie.
Yeah.
So I think 10 is too wide, because there's too many numbers and too many factors in that. Which,
Yeah.
speaking of ratings, what's your rating for this film?
You know, with Africa Screams, I think I gave it 3.5 big feet out of 5.
Yeah.
I like this one almost as much, but I think that there's a couple things that keep it down. I think I'm gonna have to give it a solid, and I mean a real solid 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I was thinking 3 out of 5 big feet as well. What brings it down for me is the acting, but the script and the elements of just like the psychological, or like wrestling and all that kind of stuff there. Also, for the sake of the podcast, what brings it down is the just not seeing the gorilla suit enough.
Yeah,
That, I think, it brings it down. And it's just like, yeah, it's there and it's a good one, but it's just it's not enough. I wanted to see more of it. One thing that's really positive, and tying it into our podcast theme, there is a Bigfoot element into this. We mentioned it earlier. All the whole superstition about this demon in the woods haunting and killing people, that kind of looks like a man but isn't a man,
mm-hmm.
and is very much in this film. So it's perfectly fits into the Bigfoot myth and legend.
There is a cryptid, much like in Africa Screams, where we had a giant sort of ape cryptid.
Exactly.
We finally have a cryptid here as well. So we're leaning further and further away from just simply guy in a gorilla suit, and further into there's something real out there,
Yeah.
or something legendary out there. So we're getting closer and closer to that. I'm very happy that you mentioned that you would have liked to see the gorilla suit more, because our next feature, Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla, has the same gorilla suit actor
Oh.
with the same set of gorilla suits
Oh, okay. This is getting interesting now.
So we are gonna get to see it more. I have not been as excited to review a movie
Yeah. Well,
in a very long
Steven's
time.
been telling me about it, and he's very excited for this upcoming film.
You may hate it, but I'm gonna be really excited regardless.
Which one thing about the next film, it stars Bela Lugosi because he's in the title, which also will be our last time to see Bela Lugosi, at least in this season. We might see him again at some point, but for now, our next episode is going to be our farewell to our friend Bela Lugosi.
Our farewell to our friend Bela Lugosi. The return of our least favorite director on the podcast so far,
Oh
William
boy.
Bodine, and the last movie that we can really just say is a guy in the gorilla suit movie, at least for this season.
Yeah.
So, looking forward to many fond farewells next episode, not next season.
Next season, yeah, we're quite
Yeah.
a ways from next season.
Yeah. But we are getting closer and closer to actual Bigfoot content, or Yeti content, or whatever kind of cryptid ape man content. So we're getting really close, and we're pretty excited about this. However, I do have one final question for you, Isaac. Are you convinced that Bigfoot exists yet?
No.
Okay.
It was all in the guy's head. It was all in his head. It's all in your head. No? Bigfoot's all in your head.
In my head specifically?
Yeah, in your head? Oh yeah, probably. He's in all of our heads.
Okay.
He's all just in our head. He's a mass hysteria.
He's a mimetic entity.
Yes.